Exclusive contract with Feilu Novel Network Novel. Meiman. A foundation for shelter from scratch. This book, also known as Meiman. Organizing All Staff Undercover. At the beginning, I was forced to establish a foundation. Upon waking up, Beichen bravely assumed the position of leader of a certain group. On the first day of taking over the organization, the old butler introduced the 3 core cadres of the organization to Beichen. Young master, this is Coulson, and the 2 people next to him are Natasha and May, both backbone members of the organization. Beichen. All undercover agents. Going through time is about entering. Fortunately, the system was awakened at a critical moment, and as long as summoned and sheltered, one can obtain rich system rewards. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully accommodating the Crimson King and obtaining the highest divine power. All the power of the Crimson King. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully accommodating the Son of Evolution and gaining the power of fusion evolution and transformation. Finally, Beichen, with countless abilities, has become the most indescribable existence in the multiverse. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Shelter Popularization System. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In a luxurious villa, the young man sat lost on the sofa, staring blankly at the LCD TV in front of him. First of all, good or bad news? I have mostly traveled through time. As an orphan, Beichen had no ties in his original world, and it is not unacceptable for him to suddenly cross into another world now. There is also good news. His background in this world seems quite good, as can be seen from the luxurious villa of over 2,000 square meters alone. A social animal travels to another world to become a wealthy young master. Beichen feels that if this is a dream, he should wake up with a smile. Full of joy, Beichen happily accepted the fact that he had already traveled, got up from a few square meters bed, and happily turned on the TV. The wonderful life of the wealthy second generation is about to begin. It's exciting to think about it. Playboy Tony Stark is attacked in the Middle East and mysteriously disappears. The next news is commemorating the 67th anniversary of the brave sacrifice of the captain of the beautiful country, Beichen. Originally filled with joy, Beichen's smile gradually solidified. What kind of thing? I finally made it through time and became a wealthy tycoon who could spend money like dirt. But you, told me this is Marvel. RNM. Ticket refund. I want to refund the ticket. Money is truly precious, but the value of life is even higher. There is an ancient saying that goes, "It is better to be a peaceful dog than a rebellious person." Marvel, this kind of world-shattering, is probably only comparable to the Containment Universe and the neighboring DC, which cannot be described in chaotic times. To put it bluntly, Ultraman world is safer than Marvel world. Just as Beichen was surprised by the extremely dangerous Marvel universe he was crossing, some inexplicable memories burst into his mind in an instant. After lying dead on the sofa for a full half-hour, the awakened Beichen sat up from the sofa. The unfamiliar memories just now, although some fragments of memory, Luli also clarified his identity and background. In this world, he is not a wealthy second generation, let alone an official second generation, but a fearful second generation. What is the fear of the second generation? His cheap father in this world is a notorious international smuggler, but he smuggles not drugs and people, but banned items from various countries. From firearms and ammunition to materials used in the production of nuclear weapons, it is a well-known terrorist organization in the international community. According to memory, Beichen also learned that just yesterday, his cheap dad in this world successfully received a boxed meal. And he officially rose to become the new leader of the smuggling group. After receiving the memories of these pit fathers, Beichen almost crossed the river again in anger. Although I lived a bit down in my previous life, I shouldn't joke about my own life. In this lifetime, although living has become somewhat wealthy, one must joke about their own life. Beichen expressed that they cannot accept it. Forget it. As soon as you come, take it easy. The young master can just show off and lead the smuggling gang to become a regular, right? Thinking in this way, Beichen finally accepted this deceitful background. No matter how much nonsense one may have about their identity and world background, they will eventually have to continue to live. The shelter popularization system has been successfully launched. This system is committed to popularizing containment in the multiverse, allowing people in the multiverse to enjoy the tension and excitement brought by SCP. Note: if someone refers to you as a spreader of disaster, the source of disaster, please maintain a peaceful heart. This is a normal phenomenon. If you want to learn more about this system, please refer to the manual. Beichen. Is the containment item mentioned by the system the one I thought of? Beichen is in an extremely panic and anxious at the moment. If one's conjecture is correct, then the joy of this world is great. The Marvel Universe is already dangerous enough, and with the addition of containment, it may be able to bear a positive burden. Damn it. Who would be interested in accommodations? Which world would welcome shelter? A containment object does not specifically refer to something, let alone a certain organism. It can even be said to be a supernatural phenomenon, and any abnormal or supernatural item can be collectively referred to as a containment object. Shelter means control, containment, and protection. Excited and trembling, Beichen opened the so-called system manual with a nervous heart. Shelter Popularization System Explanation 1. The only currency in this system is the legendary value. The source of information is people's emotions towards the shelter, and the higher the world's attention, the more legendary values they generate. Explanation 2. The host can randomly summon a containment item by consuming legendary values, or spend legendary values to select a summoning containment item. Explanation 3. The summoned SCP containment project will be in a free state and the host will need to be rehoused. The following are welfare benefits for the popularization of shelters. Welfare 1. After the host summons the containment project, the system will issue rewards corresponding to the containment project. Welfare 2. After the host reintroduces the containment project, they can directly obtain the ability or control of the containment project. Welfare 3. The host will bring their own containment space, which can be freely arranged or recycled. Here are the rewards for beginners. Reward 1. Randomly summon the containment item once. Reward 2. Shelter Navigation Map, it will guide you to find the free state of the shelter. Reward 3. Revival Card X3, as we all know, working at a foundation doesn't even require 10 lives. 3 instructions, 3 benefits, 3 rewards. Great. This is still a sophisticated system. Beichen is unable to roast now. Chapter 2. The Organization of All Staff Undercover. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Beichen is a person who is very good at finding joy in adversity and is also very good at finding joy in despair. After reading the system, Beichen felt secretly grateful in his heart. Fortunately, the system did not release all the containment items at once. At present, there are over 8,000 to 10,000 known containment projects, including no less than 100 high-dimensional containment projects and no less than 1,000 concepts involved. What concept is this? Give a simple example. The strongest green giant on the surface can also be considered as a containment project in some ways, but its level of danger and strength are estimated to be difficult to enter the top 3,000 in terms of containment projects. As a villain in the early stages of Marvel Universe, Miaba's danger can already threaten the entire universe, but in the containment project, the danger and strength of Miat cannot be estimated to enter the top 1,000. This is the terrifying aspect of the containment. In addition, with 3 resurrection cards, Beichen's heart is not very nervous anymore. With the help of resurrection cards and the understanding of moving storage items, Beichen felt that it should be quite easy for him to step on the 5 great gods. This idea did not last long for Beichen. Because his butler has arrived. And he also brought 3 confidants. The old butler, who was already in his 60s, walked in with 2 charming women, followed by a middle-aged man who had already gone bald. Young master. You will take over the smuggling team tomorrow, and I have specially arranged 3 trustworthy subordinates for you. The old butler walked up to Beichen, who was thinking. Beichen, who was thinking about how to use the system to become stronger, nodded knowingly without taking the words of the old butler to heart. What about trusted confidants? Is it more important than shelter? Beichen, whose mind was full of thoughts about accommodations, did not pay attention to the appearance of the 3 people brought by the old butler. Looking at Beichen, who lacked interest, the old butler was not angry either. Instead, he smiled and said, "Young master, let me introduce you to him. You are Melinda May, your distant aunt, and also a retired Special Forces soldier. Both your character and skills are fine. The person next to me is Natasha Romanov, a former Soviet agent. Please rest assured, young master. This lady has passed my test and can definitely be trusted." The old butler pointed to a bald middle-aged man and introduced him. "Finally, this is Phil Coulson, the most trusted subordinate of the master before his death. All the work of the smuggling group is now under the responsibility of Coulson." Beichen. Upon hearing these somewhat familiar names, Beichen, who had not paid much attention to them, was initially taken aback and then completely bewildered. Iron Cavalry, May. Black Widow, Natasha. And there's also the novice village chief Coulson. Beichen was shocked. Looking at the 3 people behind the old butler with a ghostly gaze, and then looking at the old butler with a questioning gaze. Is this the absolutely reliable confidant you mentioned? If you are not very confident that the old butler in front of you is loyal to you, Beichen will definitely think that the old butler has defected. As a leader of a criminal organization, what should I do if my trusted subordinates are all undercover agents? Before crossing over, Beichen used to joke that the distillery in Conan had been mixed with water, and all the staff were undercover, which was a miserable batch. Now Feng Shui takes turns, and the heavens spare no one. Beichen suddenly felt that the words of the ancestor were particularly reasonable. Beichen doesn't know how his cheap father in this world provoked the Divine Shield Bureau. Just a smuggling gang, how could he let these 3 act at the same time? At this moment, Beichen wished he could look up to the sky and sigh deeply. With these 3 people as subordinates, why worry about not being able to get in? After the old butler finished introducing him, Coulson, who was already familiar, stood up. If there is anything you don't know about the organization in the future, young master, you can ask me. Don't worry, I will definitely arrange it for you properly. Beichen. Looking at Coulson's loyal appearance, if it weren't for watching movies and TV dramas, Beichen would almost believe this terrible old man. It's arranged for me properly. Can I have a separate bedroom after I go in? Beichen silently glanced at the other party, and secretly roasted in his heart. From the moment these 3 people appeared in their own home, Beichen realized something very frightening. The smuggling group has been infiltrated by the Divine Shield Bureau, and it can even be said that the entire organization has been controlled by the Divine Shield Bureau. According to the old butler, Coulson is currently handling all the affairs within the organization, and there are also Iron Cavalry and Black Widow next to him. Don't worry about that broken organization. Beichen, who was ready to carry the bucket and run away, was already thinking about how to escape. But considering that I have already caught the eye of the Divine Shield Bureau, running away would probably be of no use. After all, if you can run on your own, can you still run out of the earth? The entire earth is covered with the power of the Divine Shield Bureau, and it's useless to run anywhere. What should we do? How can we reverse the situation? At this moment, Beichen's brain is rapidly spinning, thinking about ways to break the deadlock. Wait. Beichen suddenly realized something very important. These three people actually appear here and continue to lurk, so there must be some purpose to achieve through themselves. That means I am temporarily safe. If one can quickly become stronger with the help of these three people and continuously make their image more mysterious, does this mean that one can become stronger under the watchful eye of the Divine Shield Bureau, and also let the Divine Shield Bureau act as their scoring tool? You should know that the emotions of these plot characters can generate many legendary values. Isn't the three people in front of me the best scoring machine? With such thoughts in mind, Beichen had a bold idea. Chapter 3. Rich System Benefits. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I have already made a decision in my heart, Beichen said meaningfully as he looked at the three of them, cough cough. Since that's the case, then you three should stay by my side from now on, and I will take you to see a more real world. The old butler next to him heard this and quickly said, Young master, May and Natasha will protect you personally from now on. Coincidentally, you should also start a family at your age. Both of these people are reliable. After I leave, they can also take good care of you on my behalf. After speaking, the old butler gave Beichen a look that even a man could understand. Beichen. Thank you so much. For the kindness of the old butler, Beichen did not refuse. Setting aside the identities of these two women, in terms of strength, at this stage of time, their strength is among the best in the world. Staying by your side as a bodyguard is also quite good, provided that their goal is not to kill themselves. After seeing that Lu Li had taken in two women, the old butler said to the nearby Coulson, report your work. From now on, you can directly obey the young master. Upon hearing this, Coulson nodded. As a special agent, Coulson knew it was time for him to perform and sometimes introduced himself seriously. It's like this. Recently, there was a big deal worth $1 billion. A terrorist organization in the Middle East purchased a nuclear warhead from our organization, but the leader unfortunately sacrificed himself a few days ago. Unfortunately, we haven't found the nuclear warhead left by the leader. If we don't find that warhead within a month, the group will not only lose everything, but it will also affect our group's international reputation. After listening to Coulson's words, Beichen suddenly realized in his heart. Now the case has been solved. The reason why the Divine Shield Bureau has not completely captured the entire organization is probably to search for that nuclear warhead. That is to say, until the nuclear warhead is found, these three people in front of me should be able to use it for myself, and I don't have to worry about my life safety. Thinking of this, Beichen felt relieved in his heart. After pondering for a moment, Beichen said perfunctorily, the matter of the nuclear warhead is not urgent for now. I have more important things to do now. Let's come back in a few days. Coulson listened and hesitated to speak. What is more important than a nuclear warhead? This guy can't be a playboy, can he? Coulson felt quite speechless in his heart, then he secretly gave a glance to the Black Widow next to him. Natasha, who understood everything, pretended to be worried and said, there is nothing wrong with the nuclear warhead matter. What important thing do you have, leader, that is even more important than the nuclear warhead matter? Are you questioning me? Beichen pretended to be dissatisfied and asked in response. Beichen also knew in his heart that he could never reveal his true identity at this moment, let alone let the three shrewd agents in front of him know that he already knew the other person's identity. Faced with the questioning of Natasha, Beichen knew he had to show a very strong attitude. No, just a little worried. Natasha replied with a feigned fear. Beichen said in an unquestionable tone, if I say there is something more important, then there must be something more important. Come back tomorrow, Coulson, and I will show you the more important thing. It will also make you understand how dangerous this world is. Although he was unwilling to achieve his goal, Coulson nodded with resignation and roast in his heart. Tomorrow night, I'd like to see what could be more serious than losing a nuclear warhead. After Coulson left, Beichen looked at the two women in front of him and said, "You guys go down first. I'll call you if there's anything else." Natasha, who knew she had just disliked Beichen, could only nod in order to avoid arousing Beichen's displeasure. After the two women left, Beichen eagerly opened the system. System. Use random summoning opportunities to summon containment items. Beichen silently said in his heart. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully summoning the shelter. 307. Carnivorous Ivy. The containment has already appeared in the real world. For the safety of the world, please host it as soon as possible. Ding! It has been detected that the containment item. 307 has appeared in the real world, and the system is issuing pre-containment benefits for the containment item. 307. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the temporary foundation base *1. The base configuration is Base Staff *500, C.Level Armed Personnel *100, Combat Effectiveness Level of a Beautiful National Soldier, B.Level Armed Personnel *10, SEAL Assault Team Level, C.Level Researcher *10, University Graduate Level, B.Level Researcher *3, University Doctoral Level, and A.Level Researcher *1, University Full Professor Level. Several firepower weapons, several transportation vehicles, and 3 small nuclear warheads. Ding! Congratulations to the host for receiving the shelter. 307 Special Assistance before the shelter, which can remotely control the metal robot X3. All benefits have been distributed. Please collect the tens of millions of storage items near 307. Damn it. Seeing such a generous reward, Beichen suddenly stood up. If we give such a generous reward without taking shelter yet, wouldn't we just become wealthy if we successfully take shelter? 307. Chapter 4. Shelter. 307, Carnivy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Excited, Beichen forced himself to calm down and then opened the location map of the shelter. Shelter. 307 is in the Middle East. Isn't that a desert? Shelter. 307 is a plant, although it is not a serious plant. Why would the place of arrival be a desert? Beichen looked at the coordinates displayed on the map in confusion. The Middle East is quite far from here. I originally planned to go tomorrow, but it seems like I'm speeding up the process. With such thoughts in mind, Beichen called Natasha again. After Natasha arrived, Beichen directly ordered, "Let Coulson arrange a flight to the Middle East for me, as soon as possible." Let's go to the Middle East. Okay, leader. Natasha nodded expressionlessly. Are you going to the Middle East? Has this guy already used the nuclear warhead there? But how could it be? How could this guy have transported the warhead there under the supervision of the SHID? According to the SHID intelligence, this guy was just an ordinary person before, Natasha thought anxiously. Although there were many doubts in her heart, Natasha still conveyed the things entrusted by Beichen seriously. Coulson, who had only recently left the villa, replied with a dark expression on his face after receiving Natasha's message, "I'll arrange it now." Fake squid. After hanging up on the communication, Coulson couldn't help but curse softly. Didn't we agree on tomorrow? How could you change your mind so quickly? Anyway, this operation can finally come to an end. With this idea in mind, Coulson picked up another communicator and reported the situation here to the Divine Shield Bureau. After receiving a report from Coulson, Hill, known as the Cold Beauty of the Divine Shield Bureau, quickly arranged for combat deployment. Prepare to have the armed forces of the Divine Shield Bureau follow Beichen and take advantage of the transaction between the two sides to eliminate smuggling groups and terrorist organizations that purchase nuclear warheads. Although Coulson is an undercover agent, his mobility is truly remarkable. In less than half an hour, Beichen and Coulson arrived at the nearest airport. Outside the airport, Coulson asked anxiously, "Captain, the plane is ready, but the Middle East is so dangerous. Are you sure we're the only ones going there? What will happen if the other party eats black?" Coulson was not really worried about Beichen's comfort, but wanted to test Beichen's attitude. "Don't worry. I've already arranged a good person over there, and so we're going to trade nuclear warheads." Beichen explained meaningfully as he looked at the old man in front of him. Following Beichen's meaningful gaze, Coulson couldn't help but tremble in his heart. How could it be possible? I actually have an illusion that the young man in front of me has seen through me. Coulson thought with some fear in his heart. Illusion. It must be an illusion. Coulson comforted himself so much, convincing himself not to be scared. But soon, Coulson thought of another even more frightening thing. Her face darkened uncontrollably, and even May and Natasha next to her felt a wave of nervousness. This guy, is it because there is deployment over there that is so calm? But how did the other party bypass them and set up manpower in the Middle East? You should know that the entire smuggling group is now under the control of their Divine Shield Bureau. Where are the manpower from in front of Beichen? With this in mind, the image of Beichen in the hearts of the three became even more mysterious. After the three of them silently met each other's eyes, they all saw fear in each other's eyes. The young man in front of me seems to be hiding very deeply, even deceiving the intelligence system of the Divine Shield Bureau. After the group got on the plane, the atmosphere gradually became dull. Before today, Beichen's impression in the minds of the three of them was not very good, but it was not too bad either. After all, according to the intelligence of the Divine Shield Bureau, Beichen had never intervened in the smuggling group before today, and it seems that he has not done anything illegal or disorderly in these years. In the impression of the three, Beichen is a pure and harmless young man, unaware of the evil behind his family, and can be considered a sunny young man who emerges from the mud without being stained. But Beichen's current actions have raised doubts among the three individuals about the intelligence they know. Is the person in front of me really as innocent and harmless as described in the intelligence? After taking a nap on the plane, several people finally arrived in the Middle East. The departure time was noon, and when we arrived in the Middle East, it was already said to be 8 p.m. After getting off the airport, Beichen looked at the watch on his wrist. Meiman. It's already 8 p.m. Boss, what should we do now? Standing outside the airport, Coulson pretended to be lost and asked, taking the opportunity to gather intelligence. Wait for someone. Looking at the deep night, Beichen said expressionlessly. Just as Beichen finished speaking, 6 military Humvees drove towards the three people and stopped in front of Beichen. President, 6547 reports to you. The man who got off the car was a burly middle-aged white man, fully armed. After seeing the middle-aged man, May couldn't help but land her right hand on the butt of the gun at her waist. Even Natasha, who had been through countless battles, quietly moved to a position that was most advantageous to herself when she saw someone approaching. This middle-aged man is very strong, at least at the top level of special forces. Coulson silently evaluated the middle-aged man in front of him, who had no name but a number. Beichen nodded and then directly opened the car door and sat in. Let's go. Let's go to the base first. Looking at Beichen getting on the car directly, May and the Black Widow also wanted to keep up. After all, they had to closely monitor the unexpected factor of Beichen. Just as the two were about to squeeze into the car, 6547, who was as tall as an iron tower, blocked in front of the two women. Take the car behind you. 6547 commanded expressionlessly. May and Natasha, who were blocked, naturally became unwilling to listen. As the two women were about to give 6547 a thumbs up, Beichen in the car said indifferently, listen to 6547. Chapter 5. The Foundation's Base. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Natasha and May, who were taken down by 6547, hesitated a bit. Of course, they were unwilling to let Beichen leave their sight. But no matter how unwilling you are, it's of no use. Now they have to stand up for Beichen because the situation on both sides has quietly reversed. Here, It is no longer them who make the decision, but Beichen. The power displayed by Beichen now is sufficient, and the 3 members of the Divine Shield Bureau feel intimidated in their hearts. It is also enough to make the 3 members of the Divine Shield Bureau temporarily become honest and dare not disobey North's orders. After the car started, Beichen curiously asked, 6547, how is the situation with the shelter 307? Report to the President. We have confirmed and temporarily restricted the containment of Internet Point 307, but we have not yet officially started the containment work for Internet Point 307. The headquarters has already sent the containment tools over, and you can start the containment work officially once you arrive. Beichen listened and nodded. Shelter Point 307 carnivorous ivy is a climbing plant similar to ivy that extends branches to surrounding warm-blooded animals, paralyzing the victim and dissolving and expelling all internal organs, muscles, and blood. To successfully accommodate the accommodation Point 307, it can only be accommodated through remote control of the robot. As for relying on manpower, that's purely for food delivery. The more people go, the more people die, and the more wild the growth of cannibal vines will become. Although Shelter Point 307 is a plant, it does not have the weaknesses of the vast majority of plants. The known herbicides in the world have little effect on Shelter Point 307. Shelter Point 307 even has extremely strong resistance to flames, with the only weakness being its ability to attack cold-blooded creatures and ultra-low temperatures. The scariest thing is that the containment Point 307 also has the advantages of plants, such as easy survival, even the ability to destroy roots and stems, and the ability to regenerate. The mood of the 3 members of the Divine Shield Bureau sitting in the rear vehicle is not very good at this moment. Sitting in the back seat of the Hummer, Natasha, as a top spy, secretly scrutinized the C-class armed members sitting in the driver's and passenger seats. Through observation, Natasha was shocked to find that these 2 people were not like normal humans, because their appearances were incredibly similar. Biological weapons. A chilling name came to Natasha's mind. Before joining the Divine Shield Bureau, her Red House organization trained agents according to the standards of biological weapons. Training normal people into biological weapons, Natasha deeply hates such incidents, but soon, Natasha realized something was wrong. Because the 2 people driving are not normal people at all, let alone being trained as biological weapons. But these people were not normal people from the beginning, but clones. After the car arrived at its destination, the emotionally complex trio of the Divine Shield Bureau got off the car. Did you also notice? After getting off the car, the 3-person team from the Divine Shield Bureau applied for a different greeting from each other. Coulson nodded heavily. Clones. Those soldiers are all clones, their appearance and body shape are simply carved from the same mold. Coulson said solemnly, now our mission has changed. This young man named Beichen is definitely hiding deeper darkness and secrets. Stop talking, that guy has come over. May, who had been secretly observing the movements of Beichen and others, quickly reminded him. Let's go, I'll take you to the base. The deployment ahead, Beichen smiled as he watched the invitation from the 3-person team of the Divine Shield Bureau. After walking the path for nearly 20 minutes, the group finally arrived at the final destination. After getting off the car, Coulson stared blankly at the military base in his eyes. How can there be such a developed military base in the Middle East? Perhaps even the base of the beautiful country in the Middle East is not so advanced, right? Also, how did these people establish such a huge military base in such a remote place? Realizing that the situation had exceeded his expectations, Coulson nervously glanced at Beichen beside him. Then calmly, he surveyed the layout of the military base in front of him. This is a military base divided into ground and underground, with a flat-bottomed house on the ground that is only 1 floor high, covering an area of approximately 4,000 square meters. As for the underground, before going down to see it firsthand, Coulson decided not to comment for the time being. Something's wrong. Natasha, who had extensive combat experience, walked up to Coulson and looked solemnly at the nearby valley. Natasha pointed to the nearby valley and said, "Don't you think the location of this base is not right? This place is not suitable for building a base at all, on the contrary. The valley in front is the most suitable place for building a military base." Natasha's words caught the attention of the other two people, and they coincidentally looked towards the nearby valley. The trio of the Divine Shield Bureau does not believe that the level of the builders who built this base is not good. On the contrary, being able to establish a military base in such a barren place is enough to prove the level of ability of the architects who built the military base. Since there is no problem with the level, why would this common sense error occur? There's only one reason for that. That is because there are larger secrets hidden within the valley, or other factors that force architects to build their base outside the valley. Chapter 6. Shelters in Valley. 307. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Order the armed special forces following behind to investigate what is hidden in the valley. May said to Coulson next to her. Upon hearing this, Coulson nodded and realized that there was a big secret hidden in the valley. He quietly looked around to make sure no one noticed him, and then secretly contacted the armed special forces following behind. Ask the armed special agents following behind to explore the valley. Hey! What are you doing there? The president asked you to follow quickly. A rough voice suddenly came from the entrance of the base, and 6547 looked dissatisfied at the three people who deliberately did not follow. Here we go, here we go. Coulson quickly showed his standard kind smile and followed up with a friendly tone. After several people took the elevator to the underground base, an old man in a white coat was already waiting for Beichen at the elevator entrance. Hello President, Dr. A167. Dr. A167 is the A-level scientific researcher who has been awarded by the system. At the Foundation, the vast majority of people here do not have names, but use code names to refer to both parties. Hello Doctor, how is the situation on site? Beichen nodded and asked. The situation is not optimistic. Please follow me, President. After Dr. A167 finished speaking, he led the way ahead. Quickly, a few people arrived at a command room, which was poorly arranged with densely packed screens except for a few control consoles. On the screen, there is a light purple landscape, which is exactly the surveillance footage of the valley ahead. The growth rate of shelter. 307 is extremely fast. Although we intentionally cleared all the warm temperature animals around us, we still did not stop his wild growth. Now his vines have spread throughout the entire valley. If we don't shelter him anymore, shelter. 307 may completely go berserk. Dr. A167 explained with a bitter face. Shelter. 307, empty all thermostatic animals. Vines spread throughout the entire valley. Listening to the doctor's report, the three-person team of the Divine Shield Bureau following behind was in a fog and had no idea what the containment item. 307 the doctor was talking about. Although it is unclear what the doctor is saying, the three-person team of the Divine Shield Bureau has now confirmed one thing, which is that there is indeed a secret in that valley. Coulson, who was interested in gathering more information, stepped forward and curiously asked, "Can you explain what's called the containment?" 307. After hearing Coulson's question, the doctor frowned in great dissatisfaction. The doctor scolded with a black face, "Which department are you from? Why are you so unprofessional? Report your code, and I will complain to your superiors about your unprofessional behavior." In foundations, subordinates are not qualified to raise questions to superiors because when the foundation is accommodating SCPs, many incredible orders are always issued due to the characteristics of the containment. Sometimes just the time spent asking questions is enough to make a shelter go berserk. Over time, the foundation has this rule that subordinates cannot question orders from superiors. Of course, the main reason for this is that C-level fighters and staff do not have any human rights. After all, those are just clones. All C-level and combat personnel and staff of the Foundation come from a certain containment facility. Looking at the imposing doctor, Coulson looked at Beichen with a pleading gaze. How do I know the number or something? I'm just an undercover agent. Coulson thought in a gloomy mood. Beichen didn't make things difficult for Coulson either. He explained with a smile beside him, he was newly recruited by me. As for the department, the authority of these three people is temporarily set as B-level mobilization. B-level mobilization. The doctor looked at the three with questioning eyes. The doctor is also a person with a cold face and a warm heart. Seeing the great authority of the newly joined three-person group by Beichen, he also asked with some concern. President, it's not that I doubt your judgment, but that you have identified these three newly joined B-level mobilization members. You should know that in our foundation, the higher the authority, the more difficult it is to guarantee one's own life. Don't worry. They have been baptized by war. When they followed my father before, they should have seen many grand scenes. Their abilities should be more than enough to be a B-level member. Beichen smiled and comforted. After speaking, Beichen continued to ask, let's continue talking about the matter of accommodation. 307. After our research, our proposed solution is to project a small nuclear warhead into the valley, and then use a remote robot to completely contain the container. 307. The doctor's words made the three members of the Divine Shield Bureau frown. They couldn't believe what they had heard. How could the polite old man in front of them say such a crazy thing in such a plain tone? Directly drop a nuclear bomb. Is this what a scientist from a terrorist organization can say? Even if those spy organizations in the beautiful country are here, they dare not make such a casual decision to use nuclear warheads, right? This organization has a big secret. At the same time, there is also great terror. The three of them, thinking in this way, exchanged a tacit glance. Is there any change? Beichen's words have not been finished yet. A rude curse interrupted what Beichen was about to say. Fake squid. Why did anyone enter the valley? Didn't we already clean up the surroundings? Are these people fully armed and ready to die? 6547 looked at a screen angrily and roared. After cursing, 6547 picked up the nearby pager and shouted in the communication channel, which fool advocated going to the valley without authorization. I want to send him to the Foundation's trial. Report, sir. That's not our person. 6547. 6547 awkwardly hung up the contact device and looked at Beichen next to him with a gloomy expression, hoping that Beichen could provide a solution. Looking at the Armed Special Forces team on the screen, Beichen also roughly guessed the origin of this team. Knowing that the Armed Special Forces team came from the Divine Shield Bureau, Beichen ordered with a cold expression, send a nuclear warhead and never let the containment item .307 receive any more nutrition. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Armed Special Operations Department of the Rectification Bureau has been completely infiltrated by Hydras, almost entirely consisting of Hydras. For such people, Beichen has no sense of guilt when killing them. Beichen's words instantly turned Coulson's face extremely pale. He ordered armed agents to go to the valley to gather intelligence, and he couldn't watch his colleagues and comrades die under a nuclear explosion. Coulson quickly jumped out and stopped, saying, Captain. Should we go and confirm? What if these people are our own? Chapter 7. Out of control of containers. Is it time for a nuclear explosion? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Upon hearing this, Beichen almost burst into laughter. Who is his TM and you are his own people? You are just my scoring tool. With this thought in mind, Beichen said expressionlessly, my own people. If it's really my own people, it's better to clean up these disobedient subordinates as soon as possible. The coldness and harshness of Beichen shocked the three members of the Divine Shield Bureau while also causing great disappointment. If Beichen wants to act alone, they seem to have no choice but to watch their comrades sacrifice themselves in the nuclear explosion. Is this very spicy young man in front of me really the wealthy second generation in intelligence who has not engaged in any criminal activities for many years? Wait. President, it's already late. Shelter Point 307 has started eating. Dr. A167 looked bitter at the screen and said. I saw the harmless purple vines on the screen, which started growing wildly after detecting a constant temperature animal approaching, and then continued to spread towards the armed special agent team in the video. Ah! What the hell is this? Carnivorous flowers. No. These vines are alive. Incendiary bombs. Hurry up and throw the incendiary bombs. Report total. Help me. The chaotic sound did not last long before gradually calming down. Everyone in the command room was watching the tragedy on the screen in silence. The members of the shelter are fine. They have long witnessed the terrifying nature of the Shelter 307, and their psychological resilience is even stronger than that of top agents like Kelson. There is not much emotional fluctuation in their hearts. But the trio of the Divine Shield Bureau is different. They witnessed with their own eyes the leaves of the Shelter 307 gently slitting open their comrades' bulletproof vests, and then the robust armed agents, like drugged ones, fell straight to sleep on the ground, like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. After the armed agents fell asleep, Shelter Point 307 finally showed his fangs. The vines of Shelter Point 307 entwined the sleeping armed agents, slowly digesting them and absorbing them. This process did not even exceed 10 minutes. They can only watch helplessly as their colleagues are turned into a puddle of thick water by the monster on the screen, and then absorbed and digested. The most disgusting thing is that it wasn't the exterior that turned into cold water first, but the internal organs. The scene of yellow pus flowing out of the 7 orifices is likely to be like a nightmare, making the 3 of them vividly remember it for the rest of their lives. Did you see that? Just when you stopped me, the reception point 307 absorbed enough nutrients again, and its rhizome range had already spread out of the canyon. The reception point 307 is now completely out of control. Beichen looked at the trio of the Divine Shield Bureau with a deep gaze. The leader, Coulson, opened his mouth and finally let out a helpless sigh. Coulson, who has dealt with many supernatural events, only saw such terrifying plants today. What exactly is this code named Shelter Point 307? He actually eats people. Coulson asked bitterly. The situation has reached this point, and now we can only do our best to gather information about the containment material Point 307. As for the plan to capture Beichen, Coulson had already lost his thoughts in his heart. Shelter Point 307, Carnivy. Also, you're a bit mistaken. Shelter Point 307 does not feed on humans, but on all constant temperature animals. Dr. A167 explained with a sneer beside him. He couldn't stand these 3 new members of the Foundation for a long time. During his work, he questioned his superiors and even showed disrespect to the president, causing the Shelter Point 307 to lose control. Such a person should commit suicide in place and apologize. Dr. A167 thought fiercely in his heart. President, what should we do now? Dr. A167 asked. Continue to drop nuclear warheads and first suppress the growth of containment material Point 307, ordered Beichen. The nuclear warhead has been successfully launched. A small mushroom cloud slowly rose not far away. Watching the nuclear explosion up close, the 3-person team of the Divine Shield Bureau was deeply shocked. This is a nuclear bomb. The highest weapon of humanity. Dr. A167 proudly asked, how is it? It's shocking, isn't it? This is our foundation. We control anomalies, we shelter anomalies, we protect anomalies, and finally, We have nuclear explosion anomalies. Coulson nodded blankly. Natasha, who had a quick reaction, keenly caught the clue revealed in Dr. A167's words and took the opportunity to ask, has our foundation been responsible for other shelters? Of course. Dr. A167, who had no ulterior motives, nodded proudly, completely indifferent to the leakage of the Foundation's intelligence. Shelter Point 307, you should know from this name that before 307, we had dealt with quite a few shelters. Upon hearing the number 307, the trio of the Divine Shield Bureau was deeply shocked. The number 307 indicates that the Foundation has secretly handled 307 abnormal events. The most frightening thing is that their Divine Shield Bureau had no idea that there was such an organization in the world, let alone that there were so many supernatural events in this world. Realizing that he had accidentally caught a big fish, Coulson silently pressed the button hidden on the belt. That is the emergency stop button. As an experienced agent, Coulson knows that the most important thing he should do now is to cast a long line to catch big fish, rather than rashly startle the snake. He wants to uncover the powerful organization hidden in the shadows, the Shelter Foundation. Chapter 8. Never make a decision in case of trouble, solve with a nuclear bomb. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As for the Foundation, it has been silently protecting the world and accommodating these very dangerous anomalies. Sorry. I only have the Divine Shield Bureau in my heart, and all other salvation organizations are considered unqualified in our eyes. Moreover, from this brief encounter, it can be seen that this organization called the Shelter Foundation is extremely cold and ruthless. This is arrogance that belongs to the white elite, and it is also a bad habit that has been developed over the past decade leading the world. Compared to the unconscious and arrogant Coulson, Natasha has more thoughts in her heart. As a click agent who joined the Divine Shield halfway through, Natasha did not think that the Divine Shield was great. In his eyes, the Divine Shield was just a semi-black and not white agent organization. Even if it can be paired with justice, it is only a pairing. But foundations are different. From the current perspective, the Foundation is deeply hidden and has not even had any impact on the world of ordinary people. Instead, it has been silently guarding the world, silently sheltering and protecting those anomalies that can affect the safety of the world. In the eyes of others, the Shelter Foundation may be cold and ruthless, but in Natasha's view, the Foundation has not yet reached the point of indifference. But the Divine Shield Bureau is different. They not only deal with supernatural events, but also conduct research, and are also entangled with the authorities of the United States. Compared to spy organizations like the FBI, the difference lies in a wider range of activities, more legitimacy, and greater influence. May's ideas are not as radical as those of Coulson and Natasha, but rather a combination of the two. I don't think that the Divine Shield Bureau is more just than the Foundation, nor do I think that the Foundation is very evil. All of this requires me to gradually understand before making a corresponding evaluation. After the nuclear explosion dissipated, Beichen ordered, send out remote-controlled robots to search for the core of containment material Point 307, and then carry out containment. Dr. A167 nodded and then opened the control panel. Quickly, 3 humanoid robots were dropped from the sky by airplanes into the valley. Although these 3 robots are humanoid, they are each different. One of the robots has a scissor-shaped left arm and a normal shape on the right arm. The left side of the other robot is in the shape of a hoe, the right arm is in the shape of a drilling rig, and the last robot is also the most humanoid robot, except for a box about 30 centimeters behind it, which is no different from a normal human in other aspects. Coulson, who had been watching the screen all along, exclaimed in his heart, "What a flexible robot, remote wireless control, this technology. It's even stronger than the Divine Shield Bureau." Meanwhile, Coulson also raised the level of danger for the Foundation by 1 level. This is a terrorist organization with advanced technology and deep concealment. This is the common idea of the 3 members of the Divine Shield Bureau at this moment. After more than half an hour of searching, Dr. A167 reluctantly reported, "Report to the President, the containment point 307 should have completely lost control. According to our inspection, the containment point 307 has already escaped this valley. Through the natural formation of a karst cave through crustal movement, the containment point 307 should have run to another valley behind 2 mountains here." Coulson, who has always believed in science, jumped out and questioned, "Wait. Isn't the shelter point 307 an ivy plant? Can this thing still escape? How can it run? Does it have to grow 2 feet? Coulson felt that this must be because the Foundation's equipment was not advanced enough, so they did not discover the hidden shelter in the valley. 307, faced with Coulson's questioning, Dr. A167 gave him an appreciative glance. "It seems that you have some talent, and you actually guessed it right. The rhizome of the shelter 307 does have the same function as human feet, and the shelter 307 is not a normal plant and does not even need to rely on soil for survival." Coulson. "No, can't you hear that I'm being weird with you?" Coulson thought in a gloomy mood. Upon hearing this, Beichen nodded thoughtfully. "The danger level of Internet point 307 is not high, especially for Internet point 307 located in desert areas. The danger level is even lower." The shelter point 307 ran away, and Beichen was actually a little happy in his heart. The more people know about the shelter 307, the more legendary points he gains, which is actually a good thing for him. As for whether the shelter will cause harm to innocent civilians after it runs away, sorry. But it is currently not within the scope of consideration of Beichen. After all, the danger of containment point 307 is not high, let alone in the Middle East where works may live in valleys. That is the exclusive zone of terrorist organizations. Is there a valley behind the 2 mountains? Is there a master there? Beichen asked curiously. Dr. A167 explained with a bitter face, "That is the place of the 10 Commandments gang. It is said to be a very terrifying organization, but the 10 Commandments gang there is not the real 10 Commandments gang, but a group of morally corrupt armed terrorists. Whether it's armed terrorists or ordinary people, for shelter point 307, that's all food. After consuming more nutrients, shelter point 307 can run even further. Once the shelter point 307 runs to a crowded area, that is the real nightmare that comes." After realizing the danger of the containment material point 307, Coulson did not mention that a nuclear explosion would affect the environment or harm civilians. "So what should we do? Are we going to directly detonate again?" Dr. A167. Dr. A167 immediately gave Coulson a "young man, I quite admire you" look. This young man has finally learned the Foundation's way of thinking. To solve nuclear problems without hesitation. Chapter 9. Those Who Die. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Coulson. What does Dr. Neurologist mean? Why is there something wrong with this gaze? At this moment, Coulson was extremely scared in his heart, afraid that Dr. A167 might have any special interests. Although working as an undercover agent requires a lot of sacrifice, it does not include one's own efforts. If it's a nuclear bomb, it's not urgent for now. I remember our Foundation's funds have been running short recently, right? We just happened to solve it together. Beichen stopped with a smile. After hearing that the valley belonged to the 10 Precepts gang, Beichen realized that his opportunity to make a fortune had arrived. As the most famous tycoon in Marvel Universe, Playboy Tony Stark's name is unknown to everyone. In many fan fiction novels, this Playboy is a must-have ATM for every traveler. As a traveler, I have never plucked the wool of Iron Man and feel embarrassed to call myself a traveler. Let 6547 lead people to that valley and then rescue Tony Stark inside. Tony's wisdom is the treasure of all humanity, and dying on this barren land would be too wasteful. The translation of Beichen's words means that the Foundation needs talents like Iron Man. Any extraordinary power that can be utilized is more like a tool in Lu Li's heart. After all, he cannot guarantee that he will not need the help of Tony, the highest human wisdom, the next time he takes in the shelter. Tony Stark. Upon hearing the familiar name, Coulson couldn't help but shout out. You should know that the highest task of the Divine Shield Bureau now is to find Tony, this playboy. Coulson didn't expect to hear Tony's news here either. Coulson, who was shocked all night, had the influence to first transmit the intelligence back here. But unfortunately, Beichen never gave him this opportunity at all. Coulson, you will follow 6547 and act together. They may not know that Playboy and need you to testify, Beichen ordered again. Upon hearing that he had the opportunity to leave and even personally participate in the Foundation's operation, Coulson breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. Finally, there is a chance to send out the intelligence. May next to her also volunteered. I also applied to join, and I know that Playboy. Beichen listened and looked at May, then nodded. In Marvel's background story, this Chinese agent with an iron horse is adopted by Director Carter from a young age, and Carter and Edward Stark have a strong bond. Now that Edward's descendants have encountered accidents and dangers, under the premise of being able to save them easily, May will certainly not sit idly by. Sure. Beichen agreed to May's request. Let's go. Go and see our warriors. After Beichen finished speaking, he led everyone to the underground square of the base. On this square, 100 fully equipped C-level warriors are waiting to depart. Standing in front of everyone, 6547 solemnly declared, "We shelter, we control, we protect. We were born in darkness and died in chaos. We cannot retreat, because behind us is all humanity. Salute to those who died." The three members of the Divine Shield Bureau who followed Beichen to the square couldn't help but stand still when they heard such a deafening speech, staring at the 100 solemnly sworn C-level warriors on the square in a daze. Looking at the solemn expression of the three members of the Divine Shield Bureau, Dr. A167 beside him proudly introduced. We are every warrior of the Foundation, facing darkness every day. We are also afraid of death, afraid of darkness. But behind us are all humanity. So we must fight. We are the first and last line of defense for humanity. Please remember our slogan. We control, we shelter, we protect. We. Our Foundation's looking at the fanatical Dr. A167, Coulson remained speechless for a long time. I don't know if he's surprised by the cohesion of the Foundation or rather afraid of its brainwashing methods. Even if Dr. A167 is placed outside of human society, he is definitely one of the elites in scientific research. Such people have such a fervent admiration for the Foundation, it's hard to imagine how crazy the lower members of the Foundation would be. Now. Boarding. Let's take action, our goal is only one, find shelter point 307. After 6547 finished speaking, he boarded the transport plane with his troops. Looking at the majestic back of the armed forces, Dr. A167 clenched his right fist and chest, whispering to himself, "Salute to those who died. You are all heroes of humanity. Even if you are not known to others, even if you will be buried in the darkness. Salute to those who died." Beichen, who was also infected, also sent out his blessings. Coulson, who had a prejudice against the Foundation, spoke out and ruined this beautiful atmosphere. "Boss, then I'll follow along too. Go ahead, be careful. I hope you can also come back alive." Beichen nodded solemnly. After both of them left, the only undercover agent left at the base by the Divine Shield Bureau was the Black Widow Natasha. Looking at the backs of Coulson and May, Natasha smiled bitterly in her heart and said, "Those who died in the darkness and died in chaos. And I am not. But I am not as great as them. Let's go back to the command center. We can watch their actions through WeChat and let you have a good understanding of the Foundation." Beichen whispered to Natasha next to him. For the character Black Widow, if it were limited to comics, Beichen would not appreciate her as much as she does now. And the Black Widow in front of her is obviously the one in the movie who lived a lonely life, constantly searching for a place to settle down, but ultimately died in the Soul Jewel, Natasha. The woman who is willing to die in order to save her life. The Foundation wants top-notch talents who are willing to die for humanity. Chapter 10. The Divine Shield Bureau knows about the shelter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Unlike other agents, Natasha's integrity may be just a bit, but this is a characteristic of agents, and the Black Widow's determination to redeem herself is definitely one of the best in the Divine Shield Bureau. In the valley where the 10 Commandments gang is located. Did you hear any sound? The terrorist standing guard under a cliff asked. Another terrorist holding an AK-47 nervously replied, I heard it too, like the sound of a snake crawling. That thing isn't on the wall behind us, is it? Why don't you look back? Why not you? Don't think I don't know, the venomous snake will attack the person who prioritizes action. Ah. What are you doing? The terrorist said with a mournful expression, I feel. Something is crawling onto my feet, and... John, holding an AK-47, was horrified to see his companion suddenly fall to the ground. Are there really venomous snakes? Soon, John realized that he was wrong. It was not a venomous snake that attacked his companion, but a purple vine. Damn it! Where did the green plants come from in this place where birds don't poop? John cursed and looked at his comrade who was unconscious. For a moment, John also struggled to confirm whether it was the venomous snake or the vine in front of him that caused his companion to faint. Just as John was about to step forward and investigate, a vine crawled along the wall and quietly arrived behind him. The purple vine instantly stretched and wrapped around John's neck. John, whose neck was wrapped, quickly threw away the AK-47 in his hand and grabbed the vine tightly with both hands, attempting to tear it off. A small scar appeared on John's hand, and just as he exerted force, the leaves of the purple vine had gently cut open the skin. After seeing the blood, John did not struggle, let alone let out any screams. He slept peacefully on the ground, breathing gently, proving that he was still alive. Shelter Point 307, which had just escaped from the nuclear explosion site, has started eating again. A silent hunt slowly spread in the valley, and due to the excessive energy required for escape, the restocking process of the containment Point 307 was very slow and careful. When the members of the 10 Precepts gang realized something was wrong, Shelter Point 307 had silently eaten over a dozen people. Boss, in the place where John and his team went missing, we only found the clothes and equipment he left behind, and did not see their bodies. A terrorist reported to the bald leader. The bald leader asked with a gloomy expression, did you find out the culprit? No, boss. Do you think it might be the dogs from Pretty Country who came knocking on you? They are acting so carefully just to save that playboy. The bald leader's eyes lit up upon hearing this, and he also felt that what his subordinate said was quite reasonable. Order it. Let all the great freedom warriors gather, let's go to the playboy's cave and guard it, don't give the enemy a chance to break through one by one. After the bald leader finished speaking, he led a group of people to surround the cave where Stark was located. 2 hours ago after boarding, Coulson immediately contacted the headquarters of the Divine Shield Bureau. And he also bypassed others and directly contacted Director Nick Fury. After reporting the intelligence here to his own director, Coulson secretly sent the surveillance video he saw at the base to Fry. Director, this is a high-definition video taken by me using the latest developed contact lens camera in the Bureau. It shows all the footage of the Prey Point 307 preying on it. Under May's cover, Coulson perfectly delivered the intelligence. Headquarters of the Divine Shield Bureau. Fry frowned as he watched the video on the screen. That is a purple plant that looks very mysterious. This ivy looks quite harmless, and it has neither sharp teeth nor sharp thorns. But soon, Fry witnessed the terror of this plant. A fully armed special agent team, under the attack of the Erie plant codenamed Shelter .307, was completely annihilated in less than 10 minutes, including the time this Erie plant spent digesting the special agent team. The most incredible thing is that this thing is not afraid of fire. Although it is not immune, it is already very unbelievable. From Coulson's report, he learned that this mysterious foundation, like the Divine Shield, is an organization dedicated to accommodating anomalies. Let's not talk about whether the other party is legal, but rather about their functions, which already conflicts with the Divine Shield Bureau. Whether starting from a private position or from the position of the director of the Divine Shield Bureau, Fry does not allow such an organization to exist. Fry, who has always wanted to keep everything under control, has begun to think about how to deal with the Foundation. Shelter .307 Carnivy. Why does this thing look so much like a biological weapon? This couldn't have been done by any research laboratory, and after receiving the news, the Foundation specifically went to pick peaches, right? This kind of routine is very familiar to the Divine Shield Bureau. Once it is detected that any laboratory has developed any black technology, or is developing any black technology, the Divine Shield Bureau will initially choose to remain silent. When the situation is about to succeed, the Divine Shield Bureau will jump out and conclude, while also taking possession of research materials and achievements. The so-called containment by the Foundation is simply a replica of their Divine Shield Bureau. The difference is that their Divine Shield Bureau is more legal. This time, Coulson really caught a big fish and took it in exceptionally well. 307. Great. When we know your headquarters, your achievements will be mine. Fry couldn't help but laugh out loud. The growth of the Divine Shield Bureau was initially built on the fact that it swallowed up the giant Hydra. Now there is another organization that can be compared to the Hydra. If the Divine Shield Bureau can incorporate or even digest it, it will have the opportunity to become the true shield of the earth, rather than the current shield of the beautiful country. But before that, I have to pick up that playboy. With this thought in mind, Fry picked up the phone next to him and contacted the Divine Shield sub-base in the Middle East. As a massive organization with bases spread across countries around the world, the Middle East, the most chaotic place, is no exception. Coulson and May's every move did not deceive Beichen. Because from the beginning, Beichen's goal was to hope that Coulson would transmit the news of Tony Stark back to the Divine Shield Bureau.